Oh, hey everybody, it's Ryder with some code. With the rapidity with which the recording started caught me a little off guard. We are in the middle of a web series on programming a text adventure game in Elixir. This is a game which was originally built by my friend Daniel Berlin back in 2009 called Give Me Your Lunch Money. It was built in the Adrift Interactive Fiction Toolkit. It's a really cool game. I also composed the music for it. If you want to go check it out, it's still fun today. It's not a long game. It's an easy way to spend an evening or an afternoon. Yeah, and if you like it, of course, we could always build more. But I'm using this opportunity to port the thing to learn more about Elixir, get more experience building things in Elixir, get more experience using test-driven development. And in this particular case, we find ourselves in the middle of having built out a world, having built out a interface, having a player that can walk around in that world, having a game loop function, which we call recursively, passing it the new state of the world every time. We have a notion of events in this world, which can be triggered and can affect the state of the world. We have a notion of objects in this world, which can be picked up and put down. We have notions of inventory and such. And then again, we have this game loop, which is just passing the altered state of the world in as the arguments to this new invocation of that loop, and that just gets called. And of course, Elixir's magic is cleaning up the mess behind, so we never blow the stack. It's really, really cool. I don't know. I think recursion's super cool. I think Elixir's super cool, and it's just what we're doing. So I have a confession to make. I worked on this project with my friend Seth Bachman in between the last recording of the video and this one. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is go over the things that we did. One thing, of course, if you saw the Programming a Text Adventure game in Elixir 4, the last video, you will have noticed that we had a lot of kind of staged work, and I think not even really staged yet, just sort of work hanging out there that hadn't been committed, that hadn't been pushed. So that's one thing. We fixed a little bit of it last time. Really, we need to fix more of it, and maybe actually employ a proper branching strategy and get some Trello cards up there maybe. So there's a lot of different things that we might do today. Trello, of course, unless I can log in with my Google credentials, I may need to save that for another day. Yeah, we'll see. But basically, what I want to do today, I want to commit the things that make sense to commit that are there right now. I want to write an acceptance test, because that's one thing that I've actually never done with this project, was write the top level acceptance test of, like, you go through the game as the player, you play through the game and finish up. And ideally, the point at which it breaks irrevocably, like I don't have the functionality supporting this higher level test. That's the point at which I drop down and start writing the failing unit tests for those individual pieces of functionality, and then writing the code in response to each failing test and getting that test to pass. So that's one thing that I want to do today is write that acceptance test and get it to a point where it's failing. And we'll see how far we get. We'll see. So yeah, let's commit the stuff that makes sense to commit, and okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. So this was a change I made, sort of a bike shedding-y sort of change when I first started getting back into this project, where I was just changing the formatting and thinking, well, maybe I liked it better before. I like this okay. I have not seen enough Elixir code bases to have a strong sense of how people organize their structs. I had thought they tended to sort of single line them from what I've seen so far. And I need to do so. In fact, it would be fun to just do like a one-off video just going around looking at people's Elixir codes. I think that would be fun. This couldn't probably be left out of a commit. This was me beginning to write a test of the process command and do sort of the Elixir equivalent of a mock. I'm not really sure I want to run with that any further today. That was something that Seth and I started. I don't want to let it linger here forever until I sort of forget the context. And oh my gosh. Yeah, so as I was saying, this process command, this is the beginning of a essentially an Elixir mock, sort of. It's what Jose Valim, or at least somebody citing him, was sort of advocating as an alternative to mocks. There are mocking libraries in Elixir. For whatever reason, Jose seems to discourage the notion of doubles and mocks, and I would love to understand more about his perspective. And hopefully we get the opportunity to dig into that further at a future date. So I think this was me obliterating all the integration tests with the old implementation, which was returning a function based on the command that was typed in by the user. So it would go, whoa, no. That's odd. Right. Yeah, so that's fine. Yep. We don't want tests, we want the actual interface. Yeah, so we would go into this gmylm.interface.controls module. We would hit the controls function, which essentially is, I don't like that. I don't like that. This controls should just be a map, and then the pipe to map.get should be a separate function. And that process command, there should be process command, which is the pipe to this map.get of this controls. And then there should be the execute command, which is what process command is right now. Yeah, so I'm going to write this down before I forget it. Control should be a bare map according to how it's named. Control should be a bare map. Process command should pipe that map to the map.get, and run command should be a separate function that actually executes the code altering the world state. Process command should pipe, yeah. And this, maybe even we wouldn't call it process command. Maybe we would call it process input or map input to command. Get command from input. These are just notes to future writer. Process input or map input to command, or get command from input. Maybe just get command and then input in the argument is sufficient. Yeah, I like having like process input. What are you doing with the input? Well, you're using the input to retrieve code, which is then going to get run. So that's why I like this notion of having both of those in the function name, the map input to command or get command from input. If you have any thoughts on that, please leave a comment or a question in the Hangout or on the video. Yeah. Code altering the world state. Controls. So this was a really good note to make. That was not one of the changes that I listed at the outset of this session. So I'm all for being agile and adjusting to needs as they arise and changing requirements and what have you. However, I'd like to, especially since these are such short sessions, I would like to try and stick to the ostensibly stated purpose for that session. Yeah, so excellent. That was a great observation. If you were sitting there looking at this code thinking, hey, it should probably be that way, thank you for your thoughts. Yeah, because that's a great change. I think that just makes things clearer. It separates out the concern. This def controls is kind of hiding one of the responsibilities through its naming and organization, which by separating this out and decoupling it a little bit, there is an extreme that you can take decoupling to, but I think this is a good change. So moving on, invalid command, blah, blah, blah. That's good, that's good. Example of how we might change interface.controls to make it more modularized and easy to test. This is actually the implementation that we ended up going with. And this is how we ended up testing it. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. And maybe we want to make a note here to bring back status codes. Originally, these all return status codes as part of the tuple, and I ripped that out because I was having trouble getting it work a couple episodes, getting it to work. Maybe last episode. Anyway, so higher level acceptance test was one of the ostensibly stated goals, and maybe some Trello stuff. So let's go look at Trello, because that's the higher level acceptance test. I'm sort of like, maybe we can just kind of, forget about that. No, we're gonna do it. It's just we're getting to it. So Trello. Let's see if we can just get on, or if we're already logged on. Log in? Log in with SSO. Log in with Google? All right. What is that? Have I somehow mixed work and personal? That wouldn't seem great. So let's create a new board. Let's call it Give Me Your Lunch Money. Yes, we can call it that, and it's going to be clear that I'm working on. Yeah, that's fine. It can be a private board. Give me your lunch money. High level. No, don't even do that. Acceptance test is by nature. Acceptance test. Acceptance test. That's super vague. Has it been that long since I've used Trello? Oh, that is a column. Oh man. All right. Ready. Acceptance test, because I know what I want with this. Okay. So for starters, and I don't know if we'll finish this today. And I sort of suspect we won't. I think there are maybe a few too many unknowns. We're definitely not going to point this. Initializes game and walks the player around. That should all succeed, and the point at which it should fail, this is, yeah, guys, oh, what? Are these all different cards now? Ah. I am all for just diving into a thing. So sometimes I have not looked at a tool in a while. And this is, of course, not, Trello is not what we use at work. And yeah, so sometimes I just make a fool of myself, and I'm more or less okay with it. Acceptance test. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Initialize game and walk player around. Test should fail when trying to make a trap, I'd say. Because that code does not exist yet, the code for making traps. So when we start to call, blah, 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 make trap, we should start to see failures. And we'll can probably do a unit test. Yeah, anyway, we'll get to all that in a second. So initialize the game and walk the player around. Test should fail when trying to make a trap. So let's head back to the code. Let me just take a second. Oops. CD Elixir. Nope. CD projects. And I'm not going to do a whole. Yep. Elixir GMYLM. And we'll do run the test suite. All right, everything passes. That doesn't necessarily mean everything's in a good state, but all right, so this higher level acceptance test, I'm not going to want it to run every time we run the test suite, because really, ultimately, what this acceptance test is going to be is it's going to be a playthrough of the game. And I don't know if it'll, when I say ultimately, it makes it sound final. At some point, it will be playing through the game. Or at some point, it might be playing through the game. It might just be I spin up a bunch of them which are initializing the world at a particular state, and the player plays through. That would certainly be more efficient. And then I probably could run it, given the low complexity and performance requirements of the game. I probably could just run it through the whole thing, which might make me more comfortable. Just having that run every time, not necessary, but reassuring. So we're going to go figure that out. That can be a top level test for now. Set up all tests that, yeah, some of these tests are just garbage. It has a player module, it has a world module. You've got tests for those actual things, and you should see those all fail if none of these exist. This was just kind of a TDD thing where you make the actual most basic bare metal kind of ridiculously small thing and add it, but I no longer really like these. Maybe I'll comment them out, right? And if I want to, they're not going to stay there. Don't worry. They're not going to stay there as cruft in the suite. I will either decide, hey, I'm going to keep those, or hey, I'm going to get rid of them within the next few episodes, I would guess. Game loop 2. Why is... Oh, right. It has a prompt. This is kind of... If I comment this out, assert capture IO, you call the game loop. I think the issue was you're then stuck in the game loop. Whoa, gen server, blah, 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 blah. Undefined function world 0. Oh, because I would need to pass it in from the context. Oh, sure. Game, world. Yeah, that fails. What are you going to say? No clause matching? 38. So there's no game loop that takes in a player, a world, and true. I guess that must be true. No, there's a game loop that takes in a player and a world, and there's a game loop that takes in a player, a world, and an event. I don't know what that implementation was. So let's get rid of that true, and we should be able to see either a meaningful failure or it pass. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to fail, but I might expect it to get stuck in the loop forever. And I would need to, after that assert, tell it to explicitly to break out of the loop. Oh my gosh, it has a game loop. Okay. No, that I agree. That shouldn't be on the interface, and it was a test skeleton anyway. GMYLM start game loop. Wait. Okay. I was like, did I put my test in a regular Elixir file? Because that would be strange. But if I had put the test in a regular Elixir file, I wouldn't expect it to get run when I ran mixed test. So that means I need to get back to the gmylm test.exs. Yep, here we go. And those are the tests I just commented out earlier, saying that I will come back in the next few episodes and get rid of them or reinstate them. And there's the thing, I have fixed this issue where I was not explicitly specifying any kind of definition for this world down on 39. And I have fixed the issue where I'm fixing that issue right now, where I'm passing it a game loop 3 variation that does not actually exist in the code. So I am expecting it, to return a prompt here with capture IO. And so I would expect that there's a good probability this will pass. I mean, I don't know, with the spacing, sometimes it's really good to just get to the metal and run it so that it tells you what the difference between your expectation and the actual is, rather than trying to craft what you think will be perfect when it's really a lot easier to lean on the machine to do it for you. Oh, here we go. See, yeah, exactly. We're in an infinite loop. Well, not infinite loop, but we just get into it. Yeah, so we gotta break out of that. The way we would do that is gmylm dot game loop. Oh, that true, I think, was like a run once or something like that. Because I don't think I either thought of, or if I thought, no, I'm not even sure it occurred to me. If I thought of it, I didn't like it. The idea of doing something after the assertion to essentially tear down the test. So game loop, player, world, and victory. Not really very accurate here, but that will break the game loop. And I think that's all that gmylm game loop 3 definition does right now. And I'm not going to go check because it's not actually all that relevant to what we're doing. Expected key value pairs in a map got player. Oh, yeah. So it's interpreting this, which, well, it should, as a map with just like not a key value pair, but just like this player constant hanging out. So we're going to make this like it should be properly, and we'll fix that error and see what it does. Interesting. So this is revealing to me why that test was commented out. I do need to be able to break out of the loop. So, So this is going to be an issue. We're not going to finish. We're not going to get this acceptance test to where we can make traps today. It's definitely not going to happen. I'm not sure how far we're going to get. So the issue we're having, we're passing it this assert capture IO and then the game loop and blah, 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 blah. And we get into the loop and it keeps calling it. That's what it looks like it's doing. And then it looks like it just decides, all right, you've called me enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. I have no idea if that's what under the hood is actually happening. I don't have much visibility. How would I get visibility? I could run it through a debugger. I could do pry and see what it's doing. I don't want to do that right now. Why? Because I'm impatient. Why? Also because I want to think more about this problem. So a combination of impatience and then actually wanting to kind of hang back and reason this through and have some kind of active hypothesis that I'm going to test before I do something, which means that the next 15 minutes could be very boring. Let's find out. So it has a prompt. We are going to go ahead and comment out this describe block and this test block for the time being, because it's not going to work. Maybe, I mean, where do we want this higher level acceptance test to live for the time being? I don't know. Where do they typically live in an Elixir project? I don't know. Let's come up here and just say describe acceptance test for now. It's just going to be in there tangled with everything else. It's going to be super gross. Why aren't you running the GMYLM doc tests? Do we have GMYLM doc tests? What are they? Shiny object. We will look at that at some point. Describe acceptance tests do. Great. I don't really know that we need a describe block. Tests, sure. It plays through the game. We'll do something like that for now. Basically, we just want to get this on the books. And, oh, why do you do that, VS Code? We want to get, oh my gosh. We want to get this on the books, and from there, we'll figure this out. It's not been a great day for remembering to do important things for code casting here, such as supplying a camera or sharing my screen. Google Hangouts is sharing. That's great. It's reassuring. So we've got the acceptance test, bare bones, Trello card written. Google Hangouts is telling me that it's still going. It plays through the game. All right. So it's gonna already have a game for us. I don't like that. I mean, I don't want to use it, right? I want to just say GMYLM initialize game here. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Why don't I want to use the stuff that's already there? Well, first of all, I'm not convinced that this acceptance test should live in this file, and I'm rather more of the opinion that it shouldn't. And second of all, and at that point, then if I relied on the local context when I ripped it out to put it where it should live, I would then need to resupply that context. Actually, maybe that's the reason. That was just something intuitively I was like, no, I don't want to rely on the stuff there. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe I'm good at my job. What would the other, anyway, I'm not going to introspect too hard on this because that's a character failing of mine. But test, it plays through the game. GMYLM.initialize game, that's going to give us back a status, a player, and a world. And I don't want to save that as game. I want to save, you don't really need an initialize player function. That's kind of, but it's in sympathy with everything else because the initialize player just initialized to the default. The world, on the other hand, Oh, that's interesting. So the player initializes to the default, but the world and the things within the world do not. So if I go over to the world, oh, no, yeah, see, locations, objects, events. That's interesting. I don't like that divergence. They should behave the same. So player initializes to the default, but world initializes to empty, initializes to the same as gmylm.player.initialize player. Yeah, that's right, you're right, 0. But world initializes to empty. They should behave the same. They should behave the same. I mean, it'll be easier to reason about, easier to understand. I can't think off the top of my head of many gotchas that might arise from that, although I'm certain, although it's likely there could be some. But basically, yeah, I want them to behave the same. And they don't right now. Okay, event tests. It converts a map to an event. Great. As long as I'm up here, earlier we had that hanging thread of like GMYLM, is there a doc test? Why is the GMYLM top level doc test pointed out? We've talked before about, do the things that are in the top level GMYLM module and test really belong there? I would argue probably not. I don't really want much of anything up at that top level main namespace. That's something we can come back and check out sometime. I don't see any doc tests in here. So why did so I may have commented it out in the same way that I commented out those things that I want to eventually X here. But yeah, there's no doc test. So let's come back to this GMYLM and we'll just go ahead and get rid of that because I don't see any point. Okay, acceptance test. It plays through the game. GMYLM.initialize game. I feel really off my game today. Player, is this right? World. I mean, the first thing is going to be a status code. Do I need to put it in a tuple, or can I just? I need to put it in a tuple. What happens if you do this? Unexpectedly reach the end of 9 at 25. Yeah, you got to put it in a tuple, man. You need to put this on the left side. Oh, man. Sorry. Just feeling really off my game. Like, I should really know this off the top of my head. All right. Maybe I don't need to make it a tuple, but do we still fail? Wow, 1.2 seconds. Why does it take so long to run my test suite? I'm sort of joking, but also sort of serious. No. This isn't going to work. You're going to break it. I don't know what kind of error it's going to give you, but you're going to break it. Yeah, unexpectedly reached end of line again. So that needs to be a tuple. Then io.puts player, because that's the smaller one of the two, and that's just going to infinity check that, that has been assigned to that variable. Why is it taking so long to run my test suite? Oh, perfect. Yeah, string.cars is not implemented for this struct, but it showed me exactly what it is, so that served the exact same purpose as what I wanted it to do. So could have done an inspect. So I like to do things over and over again. Unless I've been using something so long that I just feel really excellent. Excellent. That I feel really, really confident. Like I know how this thing works. I've seen it work 100,000s of times, whatever. There's absolutely no reason until I get to that level of familiarity and confidence with the tool set. I like to do things over and over and over again. So me doing the IO inspects right now, that was one of those things. It's also orienting me in an ecosystem which I do not interact with in my professional day-to-day. Elixir is something that I get the pleasure of working with outside of work at the moment. So yeah, that is what that is about. All right, so I am confident now that this first thing is going to probably be a status code, but more importantly, the things that I need, the player and the world, are coming back when I do this. So those things then do need to be passed into this loop, and I need to break out of the loop somehow, and I'm just not sure how that's going to happen. Well, let's forget about the capture IO assertion for now. And let's just say gmylm.gameloop, and let's pass it player, and let's pass it world. But then you get, yeah, so I don't know what I was thinking trying to call gmylm.gameloop on the next line. Shit. How am I going to do this? How am I going to test this? How am I going to do the acceptance test of the player going through? So this is my thinking, right? I do the game loop and I go into the loop. But then I need to be passing it input from inside that loop. Like, ooh. So I could write a version of game loop which takes a set of instructions. Ooh. And then at each level, oh, this seems over-engineered, but follow me with this. And then at each level, you are taking one of those instructions and passing it to the interface stuff. And then when you recurse down the next level, you are recursing down with the arguments -1, like with that argument, with that instruction that you just executed, no longer part of the list. So you're losing part of the list as at each level of recursion as you execute that command. When you get to the end of the commands, then you're hitting a different function definition, and that'll break you out of the loop. It seems over-engineered, and like I want to talk to one of my friends about this before I opt for that solution. All right, so problem description. Game loop function is recursive. Need to be able to pass instructions from within game loop, but I don't know how to describe this problem. You're a functional master. You've probably faced this problem many times before, but like, need to be able to pass instructions from within the game loop, but my test code can't get there. It's an insufficiently descriptive problem statement, but I think I'll remember what it is next time I look at this. But my code can't get there. One solution. Pass a list of instructions to one definition of game loop. If I mean, it won't be an if, it'll just be a different function definition. When game, probably, game loop 3 receives list of instruction. Oh my gosh. The best way to do it, but then ideally I want to be doing assertions. So, I mean, I could pass it a dictionary of you know what I'm saying. Oh, it's so frustrating. See, say it for me. I wish you were on the show here. You could just explain it to me. You know, where the key is the thing is the list of instructions and the value is the list of, no, sorry. Where the key, no, yeah. Where the key is a list of instructions and the value is a list of assertions, something of that nature. Yeah, this seems really like there's an easier way to do this. I mean, it's really cool. The way I'm thinking of doing it. I just think it's like biting off more than I need to, and it seems like it could get really hairy. And biting off more than I can chew is also a character flaw of mine. So, and overcomplicating things. Wow. So I will probably talk to one of my friends about this and try to get their opinion and maybe have them on the show if I can for one of these, and we could pair the solution together. Pass a list of instructions to one definition of game loop 3. And if you want to do that, just like let me know on Twitter, because that could be super cool. Pass the list of instructions to one definition of game loop 3. When game loop 3 receives a list of instructions, perform the instruction, then call itself with that instruction removed. Sounds like we're mutating data, but we're really not, right? We're passing a new array, a new list with that one missing. I mean, mutation on what level, right? Sure. If you wanted to, depending on your definition of mutation is which way you go with that one. But if you take the strict definition of mutation there and say, hey, that is mutation, then like you're never going to be able to do anything without mutating. When game loop 3 receives a list of instructions, perform the instruction, then call itself with that instruction removed. Maybe pass a list of, maybe a list of key value pairs, a list of tuples, a list of, it doesn't matter, just a list of something, right? Maybe pass a list of tuples. where first element is instruction and second is assertions. Because I know that I can do kernel.apply and I can pass it. I don't even need to do kernel.apply. I can just pass. In fact, I shouldn't do kernel.apply. I should keep that logic, that invocation elsewhere, and then just pass it the data. So maybe pass a list of tuples, and second is assertions. See, if I hadn't built that game loop recursively, how else would you build it? Well, put it inside an actual loop. No, but you don't do loops in Erlang. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting. I am really excited about this. Yeah, that higher level acceptance test is definitely not happening today. And, you know, our Trello cards look super sad. Our board looks super sad. But yeah, I was going to commit stuff. That was the other thing I was going to do today. So that is something that I can go ahead and do. So you don't want to leave this uncommented, because it will cause the test suite to not provide meaningful feedback by means of hanging up and you having to control C out of it. I can test that assertion right now. Yep, causes the test suite to fail, to hang up, and then I can't get any useful feedback out of it. So we are going to comment out that acceptance test. I can comment out the whole, it doesn't matter whether I comment out the whole block or the acceptance test, the intent is clear. In this context, the intent is clear. Problem description. Game loop function is recursive, need to be able to pass instructions from within the game loop, but the test code can't get there. Pass a list of instructions to one definition of game loop. If game loop receives a list of instructions, perform the instruction, then call itself with that, with the most recent, with the invoked instruction removed. Invoke the instruction, then I don't know whether it makes it clearer or less clear to use the same verbiage there in both places. Maybe pass a list of tuples where the first element is an instruction and the second is assertions. This is getting cool. I'm into this. You know, they say game testing is hard and different, but in this case, like, I feel like it should be not easy, but like you can actually do it here realistically. You can have a thing that tests a player going through the whole game and doing stuff, and you could just throw some chaos in there, right? If you really wanted to get nuts about it. But I'm going to draw myself back, like build this chaos monkey specific to my little game. That's getting kind of far afield. Yeah. So I think we should commit some stuff and call it a day. Control should be a bare map. Yes, I agree. All right, that seems like one commit potentially there. And we were talking about, I was talking about the beginning of this episode, I think, about branching properly, because right now everything's going to master, or maybe I was just thinking that. So maybe we'll do that at some point. Maybe all this inventory stuff should live in its own module. Yes. It's so cool to me that these refactoring ideas are emerging just naturally, looking at how I've designed things so far. And I don't want to, you know, get so caught up in kind of messing with the elephant that I or like with the butt of the elephant, that like I don't actually do the whole elephant. You know what I mean? Like just the butt, make the butt perfect, and like there's all this other stuff, and like your head, and well, not probably not the head, right? But like your back and spinal curvature and stuff could really influence how that butt sort of uh, coexists with the entirety of the elephant. And you've just spent all this time refining the butt. You know what I mean? Elephant butt. So should return a tuple of module function arguments for West. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff here. I don't actually want to do this today, but I'm going to force myself to do it. Get rid of these garbage tests. All right. Here's what I think is I'm just going to commit these things. There may be a proper way to do these, but let's put some concerns together. That was getting rid of a bunch of tests. That's kind of its own concern. Yeah, interesting. This is kind of its own concern. Yeah, but they're all kind of like notes about stuff, or like a formatting change. Control should be a bare map. Yeah, this is all kind of the same thing. So these are all kind of the same in a super like gross as in high level way. Yeah, so this would be like notes and what was the other thing that was like actually a code change? Yeah, notes and formatting. Notes on what? On potentially useful refactorings and a formatting useful at the project level, project refactorings, and a formatting change in the player struct. Formatting change the definition of gmylm.player. That looks wrong because you don't have a percent at the beginning. All right, sweetness. And you know what? This really threw me at first when I was looking at Elixir, but it's finally starting to feel intuitive that you put between the percent and the brackets the name of the module where that struct lives. Yeah, or the name of that struct. Yep. Cool. Commit directly to master like a chump. Push it up there. That should have gone with that other stuff. Well, maybe I should just get rid of those garbage tests. I'm not going to commit that today. I might just get rid of those garbage tests and get rid of the other ones I was talking about getting rid of earlier today also in the same breath. Yep. That's really kind of its own thing. Yeah, those are both sort of their own things. So replace S for old function returning definition of GM ylm dot interface dot controls 3. It was 3 because it took an input, a player struct, and a world struct, with tests for new implementation that returns a tuple of module function and arguments. Seems a little long, but I'm okay with it. Push it, commit it right to master. First, you gotta like actually commit it right to master, commit it right to master. Nobody else is working on it. All right. Describe acceptance test. Yeah. This is the only thing left for me to do today, and then we give the wrap up, and then we go eat dinner, basically. Yeah. Started acceptance test. That's most of what I did. Kind of commented out a bunch of stuff. There's the problem is this is here too. I do want that. This is a bad commit message. Maybe leave that for now. Yeah. Cool. All right. I feel less bad about it now. Having not I'm not going to stage that or commit it. Plays through the game. Yep. Super. Started acceptance test. Committed to master. Sync it up. Okay. Let's that was a long one. I feel like it's been like, I don't know, 40 minutes. I guess that wasn't that long. Yeah, let me just keep arguing with myself for the next 5 minutes. Everyone will enjoy that. So, do I want to come back? I mean, I did everything that I said I'd do, kind of. Yeah. There we go. All right, stop sharing my screen. Hey, so building a text adventure game in Elixir. This is an ongoing series where I am porting this super badass, super short and fun game built by my friend Daniel Berlin in 2009 in the Adrift Interactive Fiction Kit. We are porting it to Elixir. We are porting it so that I can learn more about Elixir, I can learn more about TDD, and ideally we're doing a TDD flow. Some things which I didn't understand or know how to test, I've sort of gotten out of that. One of the big kind of regrets in the TDD area that I have that we began to address today was when I started the project, I should have built an acceptance test, and as the need to drop down to a lower level arose, could have dropped down to that lower level. We're doing that now. We ran into a serious hiccup with the acceptance test, and what was actually preventing me earlier from testing the game loop function in general, and that is simply this. We are recursing and passing in the new state every time we go through this game loop. So we need to somehow know when we're like 8 levels down, you know, incepted with Cillian Murphy's dad and a pinwheel, that it's going to be okay. We still have the secret instruction that we need to put in our own mind, actually, but we don't know that anyway. Like, we still need those instructions, even though we're like so deep down, we still somehow need to know what to do, because everybody up here on the bridge in the van can't communicate directly through us except by playing music. And I feel like I stretched that metaphor way too far. So basically, yeah, we're recursing. We're way down here. We need to be able to like do assertions, and we need to be able to break out of the loop. And that needs to have come up from up here, right? So yeah, if you think of like that list of instructions as being like the music from up here, no, you're stretching the metaphor, but it's such a fun one. Yeah, basically there's no music. There's no music. You only have what you have in hand, and we need to find a way for my test, which is recursing down this loop, to understand what assertions need to be, what instructions need to be executed, and what assertions need to be checked. So it occurred to me that one way to do that was to just pass a list of instructions and assertions. And I may end up doing that. It sounded really complicated and gross and difficult, but like it seems more reasonable now talking about it the second time. I am gonna ask some of my friends what they think. I'll probably ask Steve. I might ask Seth. Yeah. I might ask the Indie Elixir meetup because I'm not really sure how to do that acceptance test in this context. It's a little more hairy than I'd first thought, and I'm really actually excited about the way in which it's hairy because like it's super cool and super exciting, and just that whole solution path of like, well, just give it a list of instructions and assertions. I mean, why should that feel scary? Like, if you know what the state of the world is going to be at that point, and your assertion is going to check that. So, like, it's not like you're going to pass a whole ton. Like, if you're doing it that way, where you have a tuple of instructions and assertions, then, like, it's going to know if something's wrong, and it's going to fail out. You're not going to run, and this game is not all that resource intensive in the first place. It's not like I need to really be concerned that I'm going to get, 50 layers deep and I'm not going to have the expected state. Even if I didn't have assertions all the way down and I just had this assertion at the end, like that really doesn't cost me very much in this particular context. Like I'm bringing in elements of other contexts where it would be really, really bad to get 50 levels deep, and suddenly like you've been totally wasting your time this entire time. Because that is not the context here. And like I said, we can get around that by passing in a list of both instructions and assertions. I love the idea, actually. It really tickles my fancy. So we will see. We will see. Thank you for joining me on another exciting adventure, programming and text adventure in Elixir, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and cheers, and a great life, and I may never see you again. We could all be dead tomorrow. It's true. Should think about it. Bye.